Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second webinar for our NIOS group. We have today Ms Chitra Paul, and thank you for joining. Chitra is a passionate advocate for community inclusion. He believes in for adult who is a self-advocate for his community of non-speakers, both in India and internationally. In her own words, her son has been and continues to be her biggest teacher about autism. Chitra is also the co-founder and director of All Inclusive Foundation, an organization dedicated to creating inclusive spaces and empowering marginalized individuals across the lifespan by working to adapt their environments and supporting the people surrounding them. The vision of this organization is based on the belief in the power of lived experiences and the need to include them at all levels. She currently also serves as a program specialist, special projects at the Keystone India Institute India. In this role, she leads two major initiatives. The first is Foundations of Direct Support, a training for master trainers, a program designed to help build a respected profession of direct support practitioners who assist people with intellectual and developmental disabilities in pursuing a life of quality. The second is My Voice, My Choice, a self-advocacy workshop series she heads, which focuses on strengthening and expanding the self-advocacy movement across India. She was one of the co-editors of Talking Fingers, Voices of Indian Non-Speaking Autistics. And in November 2024, she received the Dr. Amarnath Rajanahalli Award for Inclusion at the Brindavan Education Trust Seminar. Chitra, welcome. And I've known you and Tarun for so many years that Tarun's success feels very personal. And this, what he has achieved with NIOS secondary exams is not just a milestone for him, but I would like to say that it's a milestone for the entire AAC community in India. Thank you so much, Chitra.
Thank you, Bindu. Thank you for that lovely introduction, Tarun. Tarun, 1 second, okay? Yeah, so thank you for that introduction and excuse me for that interruption. Those are interruptions you will keep coming across. That is Tarun. So he seems to not be in the best of moods today morning. I don't know why. So he will get into these ritualistic kind of things where things have to be in their certain places. So you may occasionally see a hand come in between or hear some humming noise. Please excuse me for that. So uh, I have not prepared a PPT or anything for today because I just thought let me just talk through it because when I put a presentation, I can't. I don't know. I feel somewhere that the story part goes away. So it's a story of how we uh, reached this destination. It's not the final. We still have way more distance to travel. So I don't know how many of you have a brief background on my son. So I'll just start with a brief background on my son. So at present, he is 21 years old and he is a non-speaking autistic adult. And so when we started, when he got his diagnosis, uh, he was not the hyperactive person. Okay, he was hypoactive. Like you make him sit somewhere, he will sit there. But and so we kind of missed like not just us, even doctors, pediatricians missed picking up autism in him because he didn't have issues being around people and he was not hyperactive. The biggest thing for us challenge was that he never started speaking. There was no babbling, nothing. But with us, the interactions were good and all that. So I'm just giving a little background so that you get a better picture of what I share about the NIOS also. So that was how it was. And it was around 5 years when and we started with a regular, like this is way back in 2008-9. Okay. So at that time, AAC was not like, I hadn't heard about AAC, honestly speaking. And what we were told to do was speech therapy and occupational therapy and special ed. So we did occupational therapy, we did speech therapy. And because I was trained in a parent training program, and we were in Cochin at that time, we couldn't find professionals we were comfortable with. So that has always been a thread throughout our journey with Tarun, that if we were not comfortable with the professionals, we didn't force him to sit or work with them. So that's something we've always, like, if we were not comfortable with the space or with the professional, we said no thank you, we are just moving forward. So we couldn't find a good OT. And speech therapy was also not as rigorous as, I don't know, I keep seeing parents running around, which we never did anything so rigorous. But there was a lot of family interaction, like as parents, as grandparents, everybody would interact with him. And that was the bigger thing. And of course, I read a lot to him, and we exposed him to a lot of stuff from the beginning. And we've always been very open about his diagnosis also in family circles. And there were people who pitied, who all sorts of things. And initially, it would make me feel very bad. It hurt. It hurt. Honestly, it hurt really bad, because no mother wants to, I won't say mother also, no parent likes to hear negatives about their child, right? And, but we kept at it because we were sure what we wanted. So we kept at it. And when we moved to Bangalore, he got the opportunity to be part of a regular school system. That was pure luck. And once he was part of it, initially, of course, they didn't stress on academics. So our goal was also very simple. He goes there for 1 hour or 2 hours. He gets to spend time with other children his age. That's all it was. Nothing. I would drop him, I would pick him. But then gradually around 8 is when he started writing with support. So there was full hand-on-hand support at that point. And that was not something many people had heard of also, but thankfully, this was discovered by a special educator, and we had some wonderful people who actually believed that this was him. So one of them was Anita Bhaskaran from RM Foundation. And his original special educator, who actually discovered he knew way more than he was able to express. She's no longer in India. She's based in the US, but she, like, even we couldn't believe it. Honestly, we couldn't believe it because we hadn't come across. The only person I had heard of was Tito, and Tito was not the norm in those days. Tito was like, okay, one person did it, but that is a rare thing. That was the whole idea. So anyway, so when that came in, the school also kind of felt that, okay, we can introduce some level of academics. The academics was introduced. I'm not saying it was not. There was a wonderful special regular Montessori teacher who went out of her way to do one-on-one work with him, in terms of just giving him the knowledge, not asking him, no assessment as such. So that was something the school didn't force on us, that to move from one grade to the other, he had to pass assessment. So that went on till I think around grade 1 or grade 2. They would informally, they had the smart board system. So informally, they would check something. I don't know the details because they never kind of highlighted, okay, he can't do this, he can't do this, or things. Occasionally, when he did something nice, yes, they would share it with us. So that went on till around grade 2 when he started writing with support. And then even I felt like he enjoyed learning. So we felt, okay, let's see what can be done. And the school did informal kind of assessments with him, like not the regular tests or exams that the other children did. And over the years, what happened? So Anita Bhaskaran was heading the special school in Vaidehi where he studied, and they moved into the mainstream school. So he started getting regular special ed support. So he would come down to the special school, he would attend some remedial classes. But in the classroom, he didn't like, there were no special educators sitting with him. The regular school teachers and the uh, peers were the ones who supported him. So it was not that he did great academic work in that time. And around that time, Anita Bhaskaran also suggested, why don't we let him take an iPad into school? Because we transitioned from writing to typing overnight, kind of, because we realized his writing was not very legible and that was very difficult for him. So we thought, okay, the keyboard will be easier, but of course that's a different story. The keyboard was not as simple and easy as we assumed it to be, but it was definitely easier than writing. So she suggested, why don't you allow him to take an iPad into the classroom? And honestly, I was horrified because iPad is not cheap. It is a costly thing. And to send it into him was very, very scary at that point because, like, it's a lot of money and we don't know how it's going to be used. What if it gets damaged and all that? But yeah, so the school also did something. They spoke to the children in his class and they told them that he'll be getting his iPad in and he needs it and all that. So one thing I noticed over the years is that children were very, very protective of his iPad. They were naturally curious. So when I would go to picking him up, they would actually ask me, like, Auntie, why doesn't Tarun speak? So I would just tell them he can't. So that is why he has his iPad. And you guys need to support him for that. So they were very, very supportive. Of course, occasionally they would click photos and all on the iPad, but he would always be in the center. So I've never actually shared it with the school also that children were clicking photos and all, because I felt it was a moment of camaraderie that they enjoyed, and it was not harming anybody in that. It was actually doing good for my son. So anyway, what he would largely do is he couldn't copy from the board, so they would actually give him somebody's notes and he would type out the notes, and he would also sit in and listen to everything that was taught. So any form of assessment or exam thing was usually done in the resource room. By then they had a resource room also, resource room, or when he went for his remedial sessions. So assessments per se never happened in the mainstream classroom for him because it was too overwhelming for him sensorially and all that. And again, one thing I need to clarify here is that it was not that he's ever sat through all the classes or the entire class. Okay, 45 minutes. No, he never sat through it. He would get out and run. He would have his moments of like meltdowns where I've been called. And but thankfully he would be taken to the resource room or to the principal's room. And by the time I reach, he's past that phase. So so what I'm trying to say is it's not like he would sit and continuously for a long time and do work. There were moments where there were days when he did nothing. There were days when he ran out and it was all confusion. All sorts of things happened. And then, so slowly, what they also started doing is they started differentiating the same question paper. So what they did was, if there were questions, they would give the answers, but as multiple choice, and he had to pick the right answer. So I totally appreciate that what they did, because that kind of really gave them and us quite a lot of understanding on, okay, he is listening. And nobody actually taught him the stuff that was taught in class separately. Okay, like it was not like, okay, he sat through class and then in remedials or at home, we went through the chapters again. No, that was never done. So, whatever he answered was largely based on what he was listening in class. So, that was a big thing for all of us, that his conceptual understanding of topics was pretty good. And yes, I did try to figure out ways how to make things easier for him. For example, math. Math was something he's always loved. But how do you do math on an iPad or on a system? That is a huge exploration that I've gone through. Like I've searched high and low for apps which would ease his journey. I did find some apps, but they were largely for the iPad. And then slowly, as he grew older, we also realized we had to shift him to a regular, not an iPad, to a regular laptop or the Windows kind of setup. And so at that point, what I figured out was we found a Lenovo Tab which had Windows, but it also had, you could attach a separate keyboard to it. So this was the time when iTunes didn't have Microsoft Word app and all that. Okay, so that is why I'm highlighting all these things. The Word and PowerPoint apps on iTunes came much later. So this was before that. So I had to figure out other ways. And also, one app that Anita Bhaskaran suggested was OneNote. So, OneNote is from Microsoft and it's a classroom software. So, it has everything that a child would need to do work on a digital platform in a classroom. So, OneNote also has a good symbol library to do math, etc. So, he actually did most of his work on OneNote, and that helped him a lot. Like, so for math and all also, it was tedious, but he found it much easier because in OneNote, if you now I don't know, I think it's still there, but on the right side, you would get the commonly used symbols. So it's easier to pick, and he's always had touch-based systems because initially he couldn't use the mouse. And that is another story. I will get into it. I'm giving all this background to help you understand how we traveled and navigated till he finished his secondary. So it's way more easier now in many ways because the digital platforms are also better. And but we had to really struggle because also because nobody knew, like I didn't have anybody to turn to ask for all these things. Okay, I think somebody's talking, is it? Okay. Yeah, sorry for that. Okay. So I did figure out some apps, but finally we started largely working with OneNote. But in math, if you know the double digit multiplication addition, you have to move one column ahead, right? And initially, when Tarun would do it, he would just write the answer from the left side. But that is not what is expected, right? There is marks for the steps. And even if you get your answer wrong, if you've done the process correctly, you get marks. So I had to literally help him unlearn that process of writing the answer in one go. And that was difficult even on OneNote. So finally, I figured out one app called Panther Math app, which I think I've shared in the group, where what happens every time you go, it moves. It's like a math paper kind of thing, and it moves forward. So it became easier for him to do it, but that was a very short, brief time because those things don't last for a long time. They are just one grade or something, and then you move on to and then nobody actually expects you to do those double digit thing and all that. But so there was a lot of work that got built up, but he gradually settled on OneNote. And one thing it didn't work for him, and I didn't push him to also, was to use word prediction. Because something I realized quite early was that most exams don't allow for word prediction software. Okay. So, it was not just my thing, it was also because initially when Tarun, even now, he's not very comfortable with using word prediction. Initially, what he would do is he would just start typing the first word that came up. And that is not what he wanted. It would derail his thoughts totally. So I realized this is not working for him. And the added benefit was that it's not something that is useful in an exam situation. So we never used word prediction. Now, once in a while, for when he's having a conversation with somebody, once in a while he will, but he's not still comfortable with word prediction. He goes by typing each alphabet individually. So, and that is why you hear those, like we've put the typing sounds in the podcast also, because that is part, like he also doesn't move his wrist very well. So his movements are gross motor. So he goes tuck, 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 and you will hear the sound actually when he types. And we've had keyboards getting damaged actually because he presses with so much force. That's again proprioceptive difficulties, but I like, these are some things are constant works in progress, and you discover that okay, as a child when he tapped, probably it didn't affect the keyboard so much. Now he's an adult and he taps with as much force, the keyboards are going for a toss. So we as much as possible we give him a separate keyboard to work on, not the laptop keyboard, because the laptop keyboard, if it goes, it's problematic. The whole laptop goes for a toss, right? So so these are, I'm just giving you all this background because these were hard, these were real challenges that we faced. And so the school thing went on till COVID hit, and when he started working from home, he was attending classes, and again they never forced like you have to sit with your camera on and stuff like that. I literally have a photo of him sitting for class where he's actually, the chair is facing the laptop, he's sitting with his legs on the armrest, and he's actually just peeping in once in a while. So, and he would get up and walk and all that. The camera would be on, camera would be off. They were very comfortable with all that. But during COVID, what I realized is I could maybe nudge him a little bit more to move ahead from the multiple choice questions. So then I kind of advocated that give him extra time. Okay, and let him answer on OneNote. He will keep the camera on. I will be there for him, and let him answer how much ever he can. So the school was very fine by that, and we did. There was a sudden leap. Perhaps that was in the waiting. It was not explored. Perhaps he was writing one sentence and three sentence answers in school before COVID hit. But I just kind of really pushed it because I felt he was ready for it. And he would leave out creative writing. He would leave out the long answer. He just left it. And I never forced it because that was too much for him. And he would take, I think, half an hour extra. Yeah, half an hour extra was what they gave. And whatever he wrote in that, he would get. And he did pretty well. And then when in 2021, ninth grade, CBSE did something wonderful, actually, but they've gone back on that. That particular year, they divided the portions into term one and term two. And term one was, the entire question paper was multiple choice. Okay. And that was brilliant for someone like Tarun. And he really actually scored in his 90s that exam. I was like, okay, just that small shift was all that he needed at that point. And so the teachers were also like Okay, and this was the thing for everybody. All students did, and they were not simple, straightforward, multiple choice. By the way, they were assertion and reasoning questions, which were not, which are never easy, which were not easy, and he did well despite all that. So that went off, and then the term 2 they said will be larger question based. So okay, term 2 was like before, he left out the big questions and all that, but overall ninth grade was a huge revelation for all of us. And at the end of ninth grade, we actually shifted totally to Cochin, and we he left school actually. So the school never told us to leave. I think they would have just, I don't know, he was not ready to write his boards at that point, because so maybe we would have ourselves taken a back step and said we will just wait it out, but the school, I know, wouldn't have said you have to leave now. He would have just sat through 10th and then maybe just left. That would have been what would have happened. But because we shifted and school went back into physical, so he couldn't attend. So we stopped it at that. And that point, I was like, now what do we do? I knew that he's not ready to write the boards right now. And NIOS, the pattern was also very different. NIOS pattern was all big chunky answers and lot of rote memorization. So yeah, that is one thing I need to make clear. Tarun is not a rote memory learner. So I have struggled with this even for definitions. He will not go write word for word. He will write it in his own language, which can be problematic for definitions, because definitions people are expecting, okay, this word has to be there, this, but I've not been able to successfully get him to remember and write definitions as such. So somebody who's not a rote memory learner, NIOS at that point wouldn't work for him. So I was like, now what do we do, kind of? And then I had this conversation with him, like, what do you want to do? And he was very clear. He said, I want to write my grade 10 exams. And that is when it struck me, like, now how do I figure this out for him? Because I know NIOS is not an option for him. At least at that point, it was not. So then I did a lot of research on all sorts of boards. I went through CBSE. CBSE is actually good. I will not deny it. CBSE is doable for many of our children. But the issue that comes in is schools are not open to providing the accommodations. And CBSE also, I don't know how many of you have actually gone to the CBSE website and seen, like, access the options they give. There are really great subject options, even vocational options, which are really good. But I am yet to hear of any school offering any of those. I do know, like, when the basic math and that thing came up, I know in Vaidehi, they did offer that for few students. Right now, I don't know, but a few years that followed after Tarun left, there was one autistic boy who actually went in and wrote the full CBSE thing, and they provided a lot of support for him. And there were other children who had learning difficulties, for whom they actually went. They chose subjects which would help them. So I know of a boy who took up basic mathematics. There was somebody who took up drawing or painting or something like that, and art or something like that. So that I know why he did for a few years, but now I really don't. But CBSE has a lot of good options. Schools don't take it up. That's a different thing. So I was going through CBSE, and then I also happened to see Cambridge, the IGCSE board. And when I saw it, I felt like, when I saw the sample question papers, I felt, oh wow, this is perfect for somebody like Tarun, because the IGCSE and GCSE papers, you have like very interpreting and very what do we call, like analytical kind of thing. Like it's all application based questions, and which was perfect. And the question paper format is also a lot of 1 mark, 2 mark thing. I think they have just 3 4 mark questions, something like that. Additionally, for subjects where you have practicals like science, they have an alternate science practical paper where the child doesn't actually do the practicals, they just write the paper to interpret the data that is collected, which is actually quite good. Like somebody who may have dyspraxia may not be good at actually doing, but may be brilliant at interpreting the data. So I was quite fascinated, but then I was like, now how do I go about this? And at that point, Linguafile came up, and Naomi, who was heading Linguafile, had been somebody who was working with Tarun. So we joined. No, we didn't join Linguafile at that point. Before that, I came across this online schooling thing called Wolsey Oxford Hall. Okay, it's based in the UK, and they have an online schooling thing. And it's not for children with needs or anything, it's for any child. They largely cater to students who are actually like the family is moving across the world, and so they can't stick in a school kind of thing. So I came across that, and I just reached out to them, and they were like, they never, at no point did they say no, we can't. They were very open, and they actually did an assessment for Tarun. Like wanted, they need to ascertain like he's at 9th grade level and all that, right? So they made him do do an assessment paper which is in line with Cambridge and all that. And they were fine that I was supporting him, nothing, they had no issues, and he did that very well because the paper was in tune with what he could work on. And then we joined online schooling, and so they don't have live classes. They give you access to the different materials, and there are teachers you can interact with. So you work on at your own pace, and if you have an issue, you reach out to them. And at the end of each module or chapter, there is an assignment which the child has to complete and send it across. So we did that for quite some time, and then and at that point I was not looking at exam also. I was like, okay, he's getting to, and he enjoyed it. So we did math, we did advanced level, extended math actually, and he enjoyed it thoroughly. And it was like the exercises were very extensive. It was not that he did all the exercises, plenty of them I would do, and he would just watch. And just for my understanding whether he's getting it, what I would do is when I'm working through the problem, suddenly I would like just hand it over to him, like, okay, now what comes? And he would be on spot, like he would, so I could make sure that he's actually following through the process. But because it takes a longer time for him to type and all that, I was just doing it. And so there were things he also did, but not all the whole exercises and all he never did. I was doing it largely. Assignments, he would do it totally, and we would like it was done on OneNote, converted into PDF, sent to them. They would mark it, they would give feedback, and those things helped. And any point we were stuck, we could reach out to them, and it was a very good experience. But as we were finishing, I was like, they also started asking. Now they give us options of schools to reach out to and all that, but I was also very not sure, like, do I reach out? Because I know what schools will, first thing is, okay, he's a non-speaker, we can't. So I was not ready at that point. That is how I would put it. And then so we finished that, but we told them we will take some more time. And also one thing with Cambridge is they will not allow a relative to go in. So I couldn't go in. And at that point, there was a long period where I struggled with this thing, because when he was in Vaidehi, he was typing with a lot of people. But because COVID happened, we were at home and we moved to a new place. I couldn't find another person with whom he would work. And he was not a young kid also. He was an adult, almost an adult, right? And that really shook me so badly that and that's why I keep telling in the group also, get the child to work with multiple partners, because that we may assume that okay, he or she is working with us, it will just it doesn't. It's like you literally start from scratch with a new person, and that person has to be open and has to be patient, and there has to be a sync that has to happen. So because that was an issue, I realized like Cambridge is going to be, and that point, Naomi, like Lingua File started, and Naomi said, okay, let's just get with this. And so Lingua File was also offering GCSEs, which is UK thing. We do IGCSEs in India, but Lingua File, because it was registered in the UK, he could write GCSEs also. So, and there were also vocational options and all that. So we explored that, but he was clear he wants to write math and science. So that has been a constant with Tarun. He wants to write math and science. So we worked on that, and all along I was trying to find another alternative communication partner. It didn't happen. Finally, in 2025 January, I told I told Linguafile, like, we need to take a break, because I was in a very bad spot personally in my mental health situation, because I was really like, what do I do? The child has been studying 10th grade stuff for, I think, 2 years now, and we still can't see the goalpost. It's there, but it's not there, kind of. So it was very, very disheartening and very, very depressing for me. Though I don't know, Tarun was very clear. It's going to happen, kind of. I don't know where he got that confidence from. So we took a break from Lingua File, and then uh, few months we just worked, and then I started also exploring NIOS, because NIOS also has the thing that I can go in. So, but I didn't want to go in, but I started, and then by I think 2023 or something, NIOS changed their exam paper pattern also. So that was also something which was very key. Then I was like, okay, let's see, let's see, let's see. Around May, there was this young person from inside who had moved to Cochin, and she started coming. And within a month, Tarun started typing with her. So that was really like I call it a miracle only, but she was also somewhere the sync happened, and he started. So then I said, okay, fine. Now we can uh, take on the boards, because I don't need to be in the picture, and I'm not the only person. And I did go back and look at Cambridge thing, but at that point, like, because it is pretty expensive also, so we had already spent a lot of money and all that. And then uh like, I did talk to my friend and colleague Dr. Bindya also, and she also advised, like, why do you want to go through that rigmarole? Just be done with it. Like, just take NIOS and finish it. You let him take the subjects he wants to, and let us just get done with it, because he's been studying the 10th grade stuff for quite some time. So last July is when we registered for NIOS. And honestly, at that point, I was not clued into what all it takes to do NIOS. Okay. I had no idea about, I just heard there is something called as TMA and all that, but I was not clued in. So anyway, we went and registered, and uh, I was still unsure, like, could somebody who's an adult go in as his support? The prospectus clearly says an adult can go in, any adult, not just the mother or a caregiver, but anybody can. And we were looking for a prompter and reader. We didn't want a scribe, because the scribe didn't make sense for Tarun. He can't speak. So what is the purpose of having a scribe? So, and also we needed to get the psychology assessments done for the accommodations and all that. So one thing we set in motion at that point was to get his UDID card, because I somehow felt that UDID card is necessary. But anyway, that got happened. That was helpful, but we had to go for a psychology assessment also. And the psychologist again that we found in Kochi, this lady was really nice. She believed that non-speakers could type and they are capable of way more. So his assessment also went really well. And based on that, he got his UDID. And based on that, and also I went in to get a speech therapist and an OT assessments also. So this was kind of so that I have a gamut of assessment reports, which would be helpful if I have to fight it out for accommodations. And in the speech therapist report, it clearly came out he has dyspraxia and apraxia of speech. Till then, he was never diagnosed with that, because in 2008 and all, nothing was happening on that count. So those also helped me, because now I have a professional thing that he has dyspraxia, he has apraxia of speech. So those labels help you when you have to fight for accommodations. And so with all this, I went to the NIOS office. I spoke to the NIOS regional head and I told him, see, I don't want to go in because I have high levels of anxiety and I'm not comfortable. I really wouldn't want to be there with him writing the exam. I really would want him to do it with somebody else, because that is easier for him, easier for me. So he said, yes, you can put it under caregiver thing. I said, he just needs a reader and prompter, and we will be asking for laptop. Like he can use it. So NIOS has this provision where you can take, the student can take their own laptop into the center. Only thing is the center head will check to see there is no internet and there is no other content there which they can. So we were clear we are going to do that. So the regional head was really nice. So he gave me all the like, you do this, 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 this. Of course, one of the officers was not very helpful. And yeah, that is something that anybody going for this has to be ready with. Like, you will have bad encounters. You just have to develop thick skin and maybe talk it out with somebody who will understand what. Like, I unloaded my pain and hurt and all with some close friends. I almost had a panic attack with when I spoke to one of those people, because the level of awareness is pretty low about non-speaking autism. So they really can't believe that somebody who can't speak and who's acting out in all sorts of ways can have a brilliant mind inside. So if you're going, really make sure you have all the armor that you need. Like, keep yourself mentally strong, keep yourself like, if possible, take somebody with you. Okay. And so once when I went, I had this very, like, not a very good experience, where I was told, like, okay, you will need a scribe, right? So I explained, no, he can't speak, so we are not looking for a scribe, we are looking for a reader and prompt. And then we were told, like, okay, then you can go in. And there was a lot of force that I should go in. And I had to really stand up and say, no, I am not interested. I told them I have anxiety, and that's not good. When you're going in for supporting a child for an exam, that's not the best of things, right? So there was a lot of resistance for that. But then the next time when I went to talk, I took a parent. I don't know, some of you may know. Her name is Anita Pradeep. So her son had written the exam quite a few years back. She knew some of the stuff there. So I took her with me just for strength, kind of. And I could notice the shift in how they kind of interacted with me, because I think they knew her, and so they realized that I know her. You like there is a dynamic to it, social dynamic to it. So I went in fortified at that point. So if you are going in, it's okay to ask one of the older parents who's gone through this rigmarole to accompany, or even a professional to accompany, because that gives you some strength. So, anyway, so that happened, but there was still one big thing that was in my head: practical exams. Now, the subjects that Tarun chose were English, science, maths, economics, and data entry. Okay. So I was very much against data entry, but when I saw the content, I realized, okay, this is like, okay, he's already using Word, he's not used Excel so much, but it's a skill which he will learn, which is good for him. Because these are tools any child or any person, like all of us use it. So he's not going to lose anything by writing data entry. So that was one thing. Maths and science, though, he was clear. Economics was a last September is when we when we registered, is when we gave the subject as economics of all the subjects. And that was also based on something he had shared quite some time back, how he's interested in the economics of climate change. So I was okay. Economics may be something. Let's just explore and see. And he started studying economics last September. Okay, he's studied a little bit in November, in ninth grade, which was in 2022. But after that, he started on economics last September. All the other subjects he had done quite a lot. Economics he started studying in September, and I was like, now will he be able to get it? And at that point, I was also thinking we'll split up the papers, like two in April and two or three in October. So I said, okay, fine. We have a year's time, and probably he'll pick up, and let's see. It was like more of let's see kind of a thing. It was not like he has to clear in one go and all that. I didn't want that pressure, and we had waited for so long, so it hardly made a difference. And I remember during that time, I once happened to have a conversation with Hari's mother, Arya. And I mentioned he's 20, and we are kind of few years back, like not as a regret, it was just a statement of fact. And she said, don't think of all that. It takes longer for our kids, but just be at it. And that kind of, it feels good to hear from somebody like Hari's mother. Anyway, so that was so one thing was about the practicals. How would this child do practicals? So I was not sure, and then I rigorously went through the prospectus, and there is a clause where it says you can opt for a project, okay, instead of a practical. But there is also a clause that this is only for students who are intellectually disabled. Now, when the UDID card came, before that, Tarun had autism with mental retardation. When the UDID card came, when the assessment was done properly, the intellectual disability went out of the window. So, in some ways, like I was like, oh, shoot. If I had that, he could have opted for a project. But then, yeah, so then I thought, okay, I reached out to somebody I knew in Delhi who works with NCRT. And I said, like, can I send in a request, like, directly to NIOS? And I sent in. I sent in a detailed mail with all the accommodations he's asked for, all the supporting documents and all that, and asking. And I clearly emphasized that he has dyspraxia and it's actually unsafe for him to do practicals. So is there some way he can do project? They didn't respond. Okay. NIOS didn't respond immediately. They responded in, I think, March. And what they did is they just forwarded the mail to the regional center. So at that point, I realized, no, you have to really work closely with the regional center. Nothing else is going to come from the top. However, and I pulled a lot of strings. I to be very, like, I reached out to people who had connects and all that. Nothing happened. So then we thought, okay, let's see. We'll go and see with the practical exam what worst thing comes to worst. Anyway, in secondary, so what, that is one advantage. The student doesn't need to pass separately in practical and in theory. You overall, you just need to pass. And you also have something called TMA, which is helpful. So I said, okay, let's just go with it and we'll take a call. If he doesn't clear, it's a system that has failed him, not him. Uh, so that was at that point, and he was preparing. So we downloaded the books from this thing, the soft copy, and I also downloaded past papers and stuff like that. So since he had done most of the content, they just practiced papers actually and questions. So that was what I was not involved. The teacher was involved. The girl who was coming, they did it together. And then came TMA. Okay, so TMA, what it is it's a good chance for your child to score some marks. It's like internal assessment. So TMA, once you register for NIOS, you get an individual login. And when you log in, you have to upload certain documents. You have to upload the disability certificate stuff, your Aadhaar, and certain documents which the system will ask you, and you just have to. So we didn't go through any school. We did it totally on our own. Okay. So, and you can choose the study center and the exam center and all that. So I actually chose places which were closer by, but I was not sure. Like I just chose, I was told those are not very good places. There are certain, like, you have those most favorable kind of centers. Like in Bangalore, I think Spastics is the most preferred. So these schools were not the most preferred, but I just chose it. It's closer. So because if when he's writing the exams also, he has to be there 1 hour in advance. And the exams, secondary exams are always in the, like these exams are in the afternoon. So I was thinking like, okay, if he has, it's usually 3 to 5 or 2 to 5, something like very, very, very bad timing, I would say. But so he has to have his lunch and then go, and he has to be there 1 hour in advance. So if it's starting at 3, he has to be there at 2. And if it's very far off, the whole cycle gets changed. So I didn't want to disturb him so much. So I said, okay, bad center, fine, but it's closer. That is most critical for me. I just chose. Thankfully, we got a good that study center and the exam center were fabulous. Unlike what I had heard. So those are some things you do when you register actually, and we paid the fee for all 5 subjects in one go. It was not a big amount, so we said, okay, fine. Even if he doesn't answer, let's just pay and keep. It's like, I'm not downplaying the amount, but it's not like we pay a lot for therapies and stuff. So after that, this is like very minimal. So we said, okay, let's just pay for all 5. We'll see what needs to be done. And once that was done, I was told I have to submit a request letter to the regional center with all supporting documents for the accommodations. So you have to have all the assessment reports, the psychologist. So there are multiple options which you can find in the prospective. You can get it from a government hospital. You can also get it from an RCI psychologist. Okay, the psychologist will write a report with all the accommodations that the child needs. So you have to submit all that with there is a form which you will get from the like we got it from the regional center. They gave it, but I think it's there online also. But I think the office people have the latest version. So I don't know how it happens in Bangalore, but here in Cochin, the office people gave me a form and we brought it back. So it needs his photograph, and you put in the name of the person who's going to go in with him as a support person and the list of accommodations for each subject and all that. So that form was filled, and along with all supporting documents, I submitted it in the office. That was, I think this was done in now December. Early December is when I did it. There is a time thing. I think it was, we had to submit it by Jan end or something. That was the like deadline for submission of this accommodation request. And after that, you don't hear from them till, like, it's assumed that all that you've asked for is obtained, but everything was not given for us. So I came to know about that when the Delhi people transferred the letter, forwarded the letter to the RC here. Then the RC person responded, these are the accommodations that we have given. But I didn't know about that. They didn't get back to me. So you probably have to keep hounding them, like, what is it? That is what I understood. I did reach out and ask. They said it will come, it will come, it will come. But NIOS, you need to hound. So if you're going through, say, spastics or something, it will be easier in all these. Like, unlike if you're doing it on your own. That is what I understood, but it's still doable. We did it, so I think anybody can do it. It's not so difficult also. And then, of course, so TMA. So TMA, so you, in your individual login, uh, for the April exam, sometime in December, they put up the TMA question papers. Okay, so TMA question papers for the subjects you have chosen. So even if you're splitting the papers in multiple years or multiple times, the TMA goes in the first lot itself. Okay, so if your first exam is April, then all the 5 TMAs have to be uploaded by Jan 31st. You don't have a option where only the exams you're taking in April you have to submit the TMA. What could go wrong is they don't consider this at all. I've heard of a lot of horror stories about this thing that people
Chitra,
didn't.
someone asked, what is the full form of TMA?
Okay, sorry. TMA is tutor marked assignments. Okay, this is like internal assessment. So in CBSE and all, children have that 20 marks, which the internal assessment. So something similar to that, they do it. So this is a set of 6 questions for each subject, and there are 3 or 4 questions where, so for each question there is an internal choice. Okay, so question 1 will have A or B. You have to choose one, and for each question, the reference chapter from which this question you will find the answer is also mentioned, and the number of words it should have. That is also. So question 1, 2, 3, 4, I think are 40 to 60 word is the word limit they suggest. And it is, I think it's 2 marks. Yeah, 2 marks each, something like that. And then 5 and 6 are longer. I think 50 to 80 words or something like that. These are longer answers. Again, the reference chapter is given. So it's easy for you to go and refer and kind of get the answers. And you choose whichever question you want to do, and it has to be handwritten. Okay. That is another big thing. I checked because he can't write. So then he said, you write. So I said, okay. So then Tarun typed his answers on this thing, and then I had to, after a long time, I sat and wrote. And when you're writing, different schools will say different things, like it has to be written in blue pen, black pen, and all that. What we did was regular nice ruled sheets. You get them on Amazon. Like I remember Lakir or something was the brand I just bought. And you write on the first page, you write all the details, the name, the study center, the enrollment number that you get once you register, all that you write. And then on the page 2 onwards, you write the question which you have chosen to answer and the answers. We wrote everything in blue ink. I left gaps between the question and the answer, and after the answer, a longer gap, and the numbering was accurate. So that's all we did. It was neat handwriting. That is expected. It helps. But other than that, I didn't do anything extra. Like, not, some people told me like question has to be in black, answer has to be in blue. Nothing. We just wrote everything in blue. It was neat handwriting, and the question and answer, there was a gap. So like somebody reading, it's easier for them. That's all it was. And the first page should have the subject code, the enrollment, all those details have to be perfect. Okay, the study center, everything. And once you've finished writing, you have to scan them and upload it onto the NIOS site in your login. Okay. And then once you upload it, it will show. There is a TMA kind of a, not an Excel sheet, but a table, and it has multiple options. So it will show uploaded. Okay, so you have to make sure that it is coming as uploaded. Otherwise, and the NIOS, the system can go for a toss anytime. Sometimes the website doesn't open, your enrollment will not, all those things. So don't keep it for the last minute. Do it at least a week in advance, because there have been instances where people have kept it for the last minute and then the website is not functional and you go past the date. And I don't know what happens when you go past the date. I think you can always have a late fee payment and do it, if I'm not mistaken. We didn't go through it. I think Champa has some answers. She may know.
And I was
Yeah.
my baby. They always give extensions.
Yeah, they give
Because
extension. That,
there are lakhs of children, no? So they always give
yes,
extensions.
yes.
But you're right, well in time. See,
Yeah,
this whole TMA thing is such a mess because in theory, your registration number is alive for 5 years. You register once,
yes,
you can take
yes.
exams for the
But
next 5 years.
TMA, they
But
don't allow
your
that.
registration number is, yeah, no, they do. They do. In theory, you're actually allowed. But the advice, and it's very good advice from the centers, is do it at one go.
Yes.
Because your registration number is aligned to the fall or the spring of the year.
Yes,
And
yes,
then the system messes it up if you are
yes,
fall and spring 2026 and you are submitting TMA in
yes.
2029.
Yeah,
They have
yeah,
messed it up. It will not get recorded. Your
yeah.
20 marks is gone.
Yes, and
So
20 marks is free marks.
free
Like,
marks. Yes, it's
why
free
you
marks.
don't want to lose that,
And
because
33
after,
is the pass person.
yes, 33 is the pass person. So I'm not meaning to sound
No,
like,
please sound, please sound.
no, I'm not meaning to sound like I'm pulling down our children, but the system is not helpful. So we make use of everything to,
No pulling down. The
yeah.
child is working hard to do that
Yes,
thing.
child is working. So why won't we make it easier for them? So
Only
that is the
parents
simple.
have to know that the TMA is initially when you're submitting, your child has not really gone through the syllabus because it's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
possible to go
yes,
through 5 subjects,
yes,
entire syllabus in 3 months,
yeah.
like after
So,
registration. So
yeah,
you just like find the answers, show,
yeah. So
dictate, or
lot
whatever.
of that also happens. And now though we have AI, so you put it on AI, you will get the answers also. Everything is fine. And I know of schools where they give one set of answers for the whole batch of students. So don't feel bad about using all that, okay? Because end of the day, the goal is to make life as easy for our children as possible, because the systems are not supportive of them. That is the simple logic. So anyway, so we submitted by early last week of January, and then they extended till February 27th. But good thing is, when you submit early, that headache is over. Now you are not stressed out, so you can reduce your stress, because this stress and all the child will not understand, and you cannot, you can only tell them, they all these things you will only be doing at the end of the day. The child will not be able to do all this, because that whole site is also very very messed up, honestly. So you will only be doing it. I only did it, and I'm being very honest about it. I only did all the back end. The answers he wrote, I hand wrote, and I remember I went through a lot of self torture. Like one line I cut, I would rewrite the whole page, because I was like, okay, because I messed up, he shouldn't lose his marks, kind of thing. Anyway, that was done, put up. The accommodation mail had gone. They were working on the subjects. Now, the next thing is the classes. Okay. So, classes again differs in different places. Here in Cochin, we had to go for a few days. He just he and the person supporting, they went in, they attended, they just do some practicals, they show some stuff, and they also give cues on how to write exams and all that. That was it. It was not a big deal. I don't know how it happens in Bangalore. I've heard some students have to go for a long period, but some places don't stress so much. But it's all like, it's not uniform across. That is what I'm trying to say. It depends on what the study center is asking you to do. So you just follow what the study center is asking you to do. And yeah, and on the other side, I will also say, build a good relationship with your study center. They may not say all the right things, but this is not the time to fight. Talk to them, build a good relationship, so that, because I will not blame them. They have a lot of students who are appearing usually, and they've probably also faced some situations where they have been caught on the back foot. So they are just being extra cautious that nobody is trying to cheat them or fool them and stuff like that. So develop a good relationship with the study center. And what I did was, I went and met along with Tarun. And after the study, so because the practical exams are also held at the study center, so we spoke to the teachers, so that everybody kind of got an idea of how Tarun kind of behaves, and it shouldn't come as a rude surprise to them, because when people are prepared, it's easier. They handle it much better. So I also explained some things like, he may need short breaks, he may get up, but don't worry, he will come back and sit, and those kind of things. And they were very open to listening and supporting. So all that happened, and in March is when no, I think February we had the personal contact classes. Whatever the study center says, you go by it, and also check with the study center about the practical record. So if the subject is has a practical element, you have to do a practical record. This is again, they will tell you, like what we were told is, pick 10 practicals and write it in the record and submit it. That's all it is. So because Tarun can't write, I only wrote it. We did sit and talk about the practicals, and I helped him understand this is what happens and all that. But I wrote it because there was no other way. They don't have a digital option. I wrote it, I drew the diagrams, everything, and it was submitted. And so you submit that, you take that with you when you go for the practical exams. So for the practical exams, again, we went in with the thing that, okay, there is a cutout for the practical marks, okay? And in the cutout, there is, I think, seven marks or something for actually doing the practical. The total is 15 marks, and 7 marks for, there is some element for the record. There is some element for actually doing the practical. There is some element for writing about the practical you've done. And there is some marks for the viva that the examiner may ask. So I said, okay, he will be able to do everything except actually doing the practicals. But we practiced some of the very simple practicals. We practiced like there was in science there is pH of fruits or something. So that I got a pH paper, we did something and all that. But when we went in, uh, they didn't actually ask him to do the practicals. I don't know why. I really have no idea. But they asked him to write the practical. So the written part he wrote. Okay, he wrote because we had prepared him. He wrote the practical what he was asked to write, and this was not just for him. I think I didn't see any of the students do the practical per se. I don't know the background. I don't know how it happens in Spastics or in Bangalore, in other centers also. This is what we face. And I said, okay, fine. He's going to lose. They're not making him do the practicals. He's going to lose the practice. I said, okay, fine. It's 4 or 5 marks. Fine. We lose it. We are just, the goal is 33.5 marks. And we have to reach that. That's all it is. So, and then, so he wrote and he submitted. They gave him some extra time. So one more thing that happened was, again, for the practical, you have to handwrite. Okay. So I said, he can't handwrite. I've asked for accommodation for the exam, and here you're asking him to handwrite. How will he do? So then they said, let him type on the laptop, and then the support person can come and copy it, handwrite it. So that accommodation they gave. And the NIOS people also come in. So during the exams, practical and exams, the NIOS office people come and do checks. Okay. So they also came in, they called up and they did a lot of background, like, is that allowed? Finally, they said, okay. So that is something we went through at the exam hall because I didn't know what else to do. Anyway, he wrote the practical. And in data entry, you have to actually do it on the system. You have to create a folder, and then there is some content. You have to open a Word document. You have to save it. All that we had practiced, he did all that. That data entry practical, he did it nicely. Science and math. So math also has a practical element, by the way, which is a very funny thing. There is a lot of cutting and all. He can't do all that. He doesn't have the capacity to cut. We practice, but anyway, that was a different thing. And then, so that was about the practicals. And then this was March sometime, and then the exam list came out, and it was spread between April 15th to May 15th. That was the time gap. Thankfully, the papers that Tarun had chosen, there were 2-3 days gap. Sometimes it can happen that they come back to back and all. Okay, I forgot to mention something. I had initially thought we'll do 2 here, 2 in October, but then again, after conversing with my friend and colleague, Dr. Bindya, she said, he has been preparing for this for so long. Why do you want to break it up now? 1 second, okay? Why do you want to break it up? Why doesn't he just go and write it? If he misses, we'll go back and write in October. And it made sense to me because anyway, he's been preparing. So I had no doubt that he would. Only economics was the only thing I was not sure because he started preparing. I said, okay, fine. Anyway, he has 9 attempts. So let's just go and give it a try. We said, okay, we'll write all 5. And thankfully, when the schedule came, there was gaps. So I said, okay, fine. This is good. And so before the exam also, we went to the exam center. I took him around. So they were very supportive in that. I said, he needs to see where he's going to write the exam. So I kind of familiarized him. I told him this is where you will be writing, and just prepare yourself for this. And he was also stressed out. Okay. There was spike in anxiety I did notice in that sense, though he didn't say, he did tell his support person that he's a little anxious and all that. But we try to keep everything else as routine as possible. And it was like, okay, you're going to write an exam. That's it. Like, it was, we never made a big deal out of it. We took him for movies, everything. Even, I think the first exam was somewhere in latter half of April. And few days before also we went and watched a movie and all that. So we kept it as routine as possible. And we thought, okay, if he doesn't, he still has 8 more attempts. We'll get through it. That was the whole thing. It was never like he has to pass in the first go or he has to attain so much mark. Nothing. Free for all. So first day when we went in an hour earlier, and so in the laptop, so he uses a laptop now. It's a touch screen laptop, but he is pretty okay with using a mouse now. Okay. So what I did was I split because all his work is on the laptop. It's on OneDrive, but you can access it. So he can't have that, right? And where do I get a new laptop for the exam, which is again going to be something new for him? I didn't want. I split the login. I created a different login just for the exam, which had nothing. So he couldn't access anything, and the internet was also not there. And when we took in, they just went through it and they said it's fine. So the head examiner lady, she was very nice. And what they did, I had requested for a separate room and all that, but NIOS accommodations list, I didn't see it. But this lady had gone out of her way. She had made sure he's sitting separately in a separate room with a separate invigilator, which was really wonderful. I feel like, so that was, I really thanked her for that. Like, you went out of your way. So she said, no, I think he will be more comfortable. And I was also asking for that, not just from his perspective, but Tarun stims a lot. He vocally stims, and that could be disturbing for other students also. Anyway, so first day, that is what happened. And then like we went in around an hour earlier. And then once they're done, I was also like a little worried, like, because all this waiting, and then he could start getting jittery and all that. But he was pretty okay that day. And half an hour or so before, like, I think sometime, I'm not sure because I was not there, the support person was there, they give the paper out a little earlier, and the enrollment number has to be written on the sheet that she wrote for him because he can't write, right? And then in the laptop, when he typed the enrollment number and he started answering the questions. So, and except for math and science, he didn't take extra time for any of the other papers. And it was not a very neat kind of, he would just put the number and he would type the answer. And it was not even full-fledged sentences that he wrote in for many of them. And once it was completed, what they did is they asked us to mail it to their email ID, their official school ID. They took a printout and attached it to this thing. That is what they did. Okay. So they like it, everything was done in front of them, but they asked us to mail it and all that. For science, he took some extra. I think he took 15 minutes extra and he finished all the papers. Science also, he finished. Like, even the 4-mark things, he wrote some points, not the full big nice answers, but he wrote points. So that is what we trained. Like, you put down the points at least, even if you're not writing the full sentence, put down points, because marking is always, if the point is there, you get the mark. That is how it happens. Except for English. English you cannot. English you have to write full sentences, grammatically correct, punctuation, everything has to be there. So For English, yes, we did push, and the person supporting also pushed him, like, you have to write full sentence. And English is also not very tough, by the way. There is a lot of grammar, which is something Tarun finds it very easy. There are literature questions, but what they do is they give a few lines on the top and then they ask the question, which also makes it easier. There is reading comprehension, which is also, it's fine. Reading comprehension, he can do. So, but with science, he took extra time, he finished it. Again, in science, we had decided he's not going to draw any diagrams. If diagrams are there, he's losing the marks. That's it. We can't do anything about it. In math, he didn't finish the paper. Okay. That was because, I forgot to mention, the paper has to be, you have to use Word to write the answer sheets. Okay. So he was used to OneNote. We transitioned to Word when he was practicing. So we made sure that he knew Word, but for symbol library for math, he was not. The symbol library in Word is bad. It's not the best of things for our children. It's huge, and every time you go and figure out, I even found, I think Hari had taken a webinar where he had mentioned some of the tools he uses, and there is one tool called Math Type, which he uses. So I try to incorporate that as an add-on in Word, and that is wonderful, actually. So it opens up a box with a few symbols. It's very easy. But the but is, it will work only if there is internet access. So that let us down badly. And what I did was, in Word, I put the equation tool on the ribbon, below the ribbon, for easy access. Otherwise, you have to actually go to a different tab and access. It makes the process very tedious. So I made sure those are available. So in one click, he can open, but still it is not the best of. So maths, he really struggled because it was very tedious. He didn't finish the paper, though he took extra 30 minutes. He didn't finish the paper. I think I don't know if he completed half his paper. It was quite exhausting. He was very disturbed. And for that exam, they also changed the room, which was also not the best of things for him. There was too much of distraction, and he has this thing where he has to keep things in its place. So he was getting up constantly. The room was different. This was more tedious. He didn't finish his paper. So math was like, we were not sure whether he would actually clear it. But when the results came, he cleared. Like, what I realized is he cleared both practical and theory separately on their own. So whatever he wrote correctly. That is what I understood. So that is how the exams went. The last exam was science, and so we finished with that, and the results came out in June, like almost a month later. And I was more stressed. He was not stressed. I was like, the stress was more of like, I hope he's cleared all 5 subjects in one go. I couldn't think of, the only subject we had a doubt was math because of him not finishing. And I couldn't think of going back in to do math again. But he cleared. He got really good marks in economics and English. Economics was the big surprise because he just started learning economics last September. I think September, October, November, December, January, February, March. I think 8 months he finished the whole portion. And in economics, so the chapters get divided between TMA and theory. So TMA chapters you don't need to study for the theory. But in economics, we read through all the chapters because he had no foundational knowledge of economics before that. So he studied all the TMA chapters also. So despite that, he got in his 80s, he got really good marks. So that was something which really kind of, okay, so if he sets his heart to it, he can move mountains, which was reinforcing and which was good. Maths was the subject he got least, but that was also in his 70s. So not bad. But yeah, overall, pretty fine results. He passed. That is what was the best part of it. And the day the results came, I also had a conversation with him and asked him, like, how was it? And I'll share my screen to show what he has written about the NIOS experience. But one thing he said was, like, I realized then how much this exam was also about him proving his abilities to the world. Despite all that he's done, that thing is still so strongly there in him that I don't want people to question my abilities. So even if I have to go through the systems which are not built for me, I will try and do it just to break those ideas people have. And so then I asked, what next? And he said, immediately came the answer, senior secondary. And he had also thought of the subjects he wants to do. So he, as I said, he's interested in economics of climate change. So he said geographical science, environmental science, economics, and math. That math kind of, like, I don't know how we are going to do math, but yes, we will give it a try. I'm thinking of having one extra subject, so even if he doesn't clear math, like with 5 subjects, he will pass his senior secondary. He will enjoy the learning process of studying higher math. So 5 subjects. So we had also registered for basic computing, which is a vocational. But because he cleared all 5, we just left it. His mark sheet says, so you need to clear in 5 subjects. You can have any number of extra subjects. So if you want to, you can go back and write, is what I have understood. I know Champa will be a better expert. This is my 1 year ka experience. I'm not the 100% expert on NIOS, but so we just let go the basic computing. We are not going. He's finished secondary, and yeah, I will. I think I've taken quite a long time. I will just share my screen to show you what. Okay, I think you will need to give me access, Bindu. What Tarun wrote about. Yeah. Second. So I'll just, 1 second, I'll just play it as a slide. And there is a.
It took plenty of effort on my part to write the exams. It was also really intentional hard work for people supporting the effort. Possibly the preparation work was the most critical. That called for quite a lot of gathering information and speaking to officers and seeking accommodations that I needed. These were tough because of lesser awareness. I had to go for assessments too. However, that was easier. The psychologist was nice and understood my needs. Good supportive teachers both at my study center and my exam center. Exam center, the teachers were not having doubts about my ability. They gave me a separate room with an invigilator which made it less distracting. Liked the experience though, it stressed me too. Happiness flowed when the results came. They affirmed again that I am smart, which is a good thing for the world to yet again understand about me. I feel so much more confident and happy that now people cannot question my capability anymore.
Yeah, so that is what he said. So that need to prove to the world is still so much there. But I think a heavy load has been put off his head. Now it's more of like, now what else can I explore, kind of this thing. Yeah. So that is, now I'm open to any questions. If I can, I will answer. And I don't know if I've missed out anything also, because I just wanted it to be like me telling a story of our journey rather than having a presentation and stuff. So there have been some things where I move forward and then realize, oh, I forgot to share this bit.
Yeah.
And also anything, any questions also, I'm open to. Thank you, Mamta.
Chitra, I want to
Yeah.
take you back to when Tarun was a little boy and when this whole idea of academic learning being a possibility for your kiddo
Hmm.
came to your mind. Firstly, was it something like he has a right and he should be doing it, he should be allowed to do it? How did it all start for you as a mama? Like you had a child who was non-speaking, who was on the spectrum, and as you rightly pointed out a few years back, 20 years or so ago, 18, 19 years, things were not so clear. A lot of things were really hazy. So do you recall?
So I won't call it like I knew about rights back then, Champa. Like, because I was a mother. But yes, inherently there was that thing that my child should also get the opportunity to explore things like any other child. So, and academics, see, like Champa, we all grow up with that academic thing. Like that is the big thing. So I will not deny that that thought didn't come into my mind, but it was, I think, even before the school kind of academics. One thing I distinctly remember, in fact, we actually joke about it. When he was 1 year, and like I have always read stories to him. Okay, so one thing we always noticed was he would always sit with books. Like he was fascinated with text even as a 1 year old, if I may say so. So somewhere, it's not academics, but somewhere that leaning was definitely there towards knowing things. And also, like TV is also something he's always been, like visual and textual kind of stuff have always been. But yeah, initially when you get the diagnosis, I remember like at that point, my thing was okay, by 5 years, these are the things I have to reach, and then everything will sort out. Because that time I didn't have an understanding of autism or anything. I was okay. And I would read to him. I've been a horrible mom at that point also. Like, okay, identify A, B, all those rigmarole stuff I've done because I didn't know better.
Yeah.
And I was told, like, this is what you have to do to get your child. Okay. And so, yes, I did do all that, but I don't know. It's a very, like, I've not strictly thought of rights at that point. I've never thought of rights. It was more of like, okay, I have experienced this as a child. My husband has, his dad and mom have, his other children are experiencing, so he should also. That maybe it has a rights edge to it, but it's not the like that
Not the
kind of.
activist kind.
No, not the activist. It was like that is the normal kind of like he should get exposed to everything. And yeah, it was more of that. But academics didn't initially when we put him in school also, we didn't request for academics. Our only request was he gets to spend 1 hour time in school with other children for social interaction. That was the only request we made to this. The academic thing came, and it was not that we didn't do academics. He had special educators coming in, the speech language pathologists who told us that, okay, I think he's reached a plateau where I can't work much on his speech. That time, even like the apraxia thing was also not something which was known. So she said his speech is not proceeding. So I think you like I may not be doing any justice to him. So if you want, you can stop the sessions. She told me that, Champa. She told me that.
Wonderful.
But I asked her to continue because she and he had a very good connection. She would
Rapport.
play with him.
Mm.
And she was somebody who had worked under Vanita, a Char of Sunshine. And there she had done some special ed work, like doing teaching language stuff and all. So I said, you just work on his language. You're also a speech language pathologist, right? So work on his language. She did a lot of vocabulary building stuff with him.
Lovely.
So
You know
I
why
just used her professional
Mm.
thing in another way. Uh, so that was happening. But when he started writing is when we realized that, oh, we need to focus on academics, kind of. And that is when the academic thing kind of came on top, and that he enjoyed. So he's always enjoyed learning. So like new things, be it reading, I don't know, like reading general books, that has always been part of his life. And so I knew he had that, but the academic focus came much later. Like,
You know why I asked, Chitra?
yeah.
I asked because I see the tragedy in many of the children or the parents who come to me, is that the focus on performative academics, as in like tell me
That
what
was
you
not
know,
there.
starts too early.
Yeah.
And in your entire narrative, and I'm personally grateful to you for making this into a narrative and not a presentation. Uh, because it is life. We are talking about us and
Yes.
our children. Thank you,
Yes.
Baba.
Yes.
You know, it is not a presentation
No, it is not.
by any stretch
It's
of
a story.
it is our life story, yours and
Yes.
your babies.
Yes.
So what I see, the sad thing is, uh, personally, I'm one who's, like I said, not the activist kind of, right? But years ago, my first learning with children with differences was that they have a right to belong. It is
Yeah.
a human right. It's a child
Yeah.
right. I mean, you can
Yeah.
take it to
Yeah.
that point,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is where the launching pad is for when
Yeah.
I talk
Yeah.
of rights. But the point is, uh, when you push the right thing, like in the sense from that perspective, my child also has a right, my child
Yeah.
also do this, it somewhere steps into the parental, um, let's say, desire, which is very
Yeah. Yeah.
normal and very
Yeah.
natural.
Yes. Yes.
But what you have done, I think by default, just being the person you are or the way you did your mothering, is you didn't put him off learning.
Yeah. No,
In
that
fact,
was
you know,
never.
when you sent him to that school, your objective was social and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was happening with Tarun, he was figuring out the school dynamic.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Somebody
Yes.
says something, the
Yeah.
children pick it up, they
Yeah.
show it. It was all being received.
Yes. Yes.
So
There
the
was a lot
processes
of
and
reception that has happened,
yes,
Champa.
but
And
receptive levels are completely ignored by us, and we
yes.
just want
Yes.
the
Yes.
expressive levels
Yes.
right from the beginning. And all these age-old adages, practice makes perfect and all, does
No, no,
sit
no, no.
well
I
with
have done
anyone.
those. I have done those because as a young mother, like not a young mother, but in the initial years, I was told like, okay, he has to be able to identify A, B, C. So I have done those, and by nature, I'm not a consistent person, Champa. I think that is somewhere I'm neurodivergent in that. Like I'm not very consistent in anything I do. Like I need that novelty kind of thing. And I see that in Tarun also a lot, like though he is way more consistent than me. So I'm not like I have a strict time where I sit, and every moment is a learning moment for me.
Yes,
Like,
yes, yes.
so if you're watching TV and like at that time he used to love Noddy. Okay. He was mad about Noddy. So we had Noddy books, we had Noddy this thing, he had Noddy cutlery, all sorts of things. And when he was watching also, there were things like I would keep talking to him, and like I think this is what Mr. Plod is doing and all those things. I'm not receiving anything from him in terms of it, but that conversation. I've actually been told this and I've mentioned this on multiple. I never realized it, but we used to walk. Like we don't drive, so we used to take the Volvo bus and all that. So from the bus stop to the apartment, when we were walking and all, I would be constantly talking to him. It's because probably I have that tendency to talk too much, and my husband is also a very quiet person. This guy is also somebody who doesn't talk, so I'm the only talker. I would talk. I would say, "Oh, I see. Look at that!" Like lot of parallel and self-talk without knowing. And people have asked me, "What is it you're talking so much to him? He can't respond. Then what is it you're talking?" I'm like, I never thought of it like that till somebody asked me, like, what am I talking? And I realized, no, I'm just talking about the weather and about that. And sometimes even things that I am feeling bad about, or it's like you share with a friend, or he was my child, he was small, but everything would be spoken
And
about.
that
So,
is the foundation through which our children figure out the concept of communication.
yeah, yeah.
What
So,
we do is we start with the therapy and all, which is
yeah,
fine, which is the practice of it. But what is it in
yeah,
essence?
yeah.
You can't put it in words.
No,
It
you
is the
can't.
environment around you. People talk, people listen, people respond,
Yeah.
people do things with each other. And the more the child is in that environment, the figuring out, because the intelligence is there.
Yes, yes.
Just
Intelligence
as
is
the other
there.
half of humanity, the
Yeah,
levels of intelligence will be different.
that's a different thing.
But
But
the intelligence is there.
yeah, it's there.
Right.
So
So
these were things
fantastic to
I
know about
did
your child.
without knowing Champa. I didn't
Ah,
realize that. I think probably it's the kind of person I am that
yeah,
came into the thing. And it's not that I didn't struggle. I struggled through a
of
lot
course.
of stuff I've struggled. But now from my learnings, I tell parents, see, don't focus on assessments. Don't focus on things. Just keep giving, giving,
The
giving. They
flow.
are like
Yes, giving
sponges.
is the
They
most.
will absorb.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
Giving
yeah.
is, and another very important thing you said is the point of time when you realize that you being the only one where the trust has been built. And so, contrary to expert opinions of, say, 20 years ago and all, where we were all told that autism means only one thing at a time, only one language, one person.
No,
I always felt
absolutely
in my
not.
practice that that was poison.
No.
That was
I,
poison.
I honestly, I don't know how many languages Tarun knows, okay?
Exactly, exactly.
Because I have seen him watch Malaysian, Indonesian, and some other language advertisements. And I'm like, what are you watching? Is it just the visual? No, but the English ones are also there. But he will figure out and watch these. So I don't know if he knows. I have asked him basic stuff in Kannada and Tamil, and he's understood it. So I don't know where he's picked them, but we don't go along those paths. There are a lot of things we also pick, but we don't seek to highlight it or expertise or anything. It's just part of life. That's
Mm.
all it is. So we just leave it at that. So that is something I also picked from one of Mary's uh, talk she had given, and she had made a very good point about like calendar skills, for example. And she said, now calendar skills are absolutely fabulous, but like what does it serve? Does it serve a purpose? So there's no point in highlighting something which may not have a practical use. Yeah, in the home, yes, you can ask your child and all that is there, and I'm not saying ignore it also, but there are, I feel we've just touched the surface in terms of how much our children know.
Absolutely.
It's a huge ocean, and
Oh,
I don't think in our lifetimes we will even understand how much they know, because I think they use way more of their brains than we do.
it's not difficult to understand that, because while we are accepting the fact that there is a sensory difference,
Yeah,
uniqueness, they're taking in more, or they're seeing more, or they're hearing more, and that's why the overwhelm happens,
yeah,
because the filtration. So
yes,
if they're seeing more and hearing more, then obviously
yeah,
they're getting much
yes,
more of this
yes,
world than we
yes.
are.
So
I mean,
we,
how
but we
ridiculous
don't
not
need
to get
to,
that.
yeah, we don't need to try to figure out everything.
Exactly. exactly.
We
Aparna has her
just,
hand up. If
yeah,
Champa
sorry,
starts talking,
Aparna. Aparna, yes.
Second, just let me get into the room. Okay, so the question, I have actually two questions. First one is, I know one language is compulsory, but say if you are to, for the exams, right? Is it like two, I really don't know. Is it two languages are compulsory or
No,
only
no,
one
no, no, no,
language?
no, no. Only English is necessary.
no, any one language,
Any one language, sorry,
anyone.
not
So
English
they have
also.
three lists, Chitra.
Yeah,
A,
yeah,
B,
there
C.
are three
Vasudha
lists.
is showing promise in Hindi, so
Hmm?
is
Take
it
Hindi.
so when I was speaking about it to her school principal, she
Hmm.
was saying that she somehow she started liking Hindi. In fact, I don't know why. Even the younger one is liking to listen to Hindi.
Hindi is phonetic.
Yeah, so they are
Hindi
liking
is
it a lot. So I
completely phonetic.
asked.
One symbol, one sound, and the name
So
of the letter. All same.
yeah, so Vasudha is liking it. So I asked this question before to the principal, like,
Hmm.
what is it? So then there, so it's like she goes to a special school. They themselves will enroll them for NIOS, everything. They do it together as a students, and also it's much easier compared to I doing all that. So, but her logic was, Aparna, English is much better because irrespective of it for writing for see, we as for even for teaching also, it's much easier for us when it is science and not just science or even other subjects and all. Learning it in English and all would be much easier rather than in the Hindi. So let's go with this. I'm not again saying that she can. Of course, she's spelling on by using English only in the letter board, but. I'm just wondering, is it like any difficult if you switch the language and choose another one? You have any idea?
Aparna, there are
Not
5 subjects
sure.
are compulsory to get the
Yeah.
10th board certification from NIOS. You can take a maximum of 7 subjects. List A is languages. List B is what they call academic subjects, and list
And
C is
then,
what they call vocational
yeah,
subjects. So the perfect combination is 1 from the language list,
language, yeah.
3 from the academic list, and 1 is allowed from the vocational list.
Yeah.
But you can also take 2 from the language and 3 from the academic. You
Yeah.
can take 1 from the language and 4 from the academic and not do vocational at all. So these combinations are all, and this year onwards, they have changed some of the subject status, like data entry apparently now is gone totally to the vocational, which is a sad thing for many of our children
Yeah. So,
because it was
yeah, that I think
marks
Tarun just missed it, if I'm
mistake.
like,
Tarun just
yeah,
escaped.
escaped it. Not escape.
As in, like, it's a good subject.
Yeah, it's actually a good
Very good,
subject. I
very
had a
good
lot
subject.
of bias against data
No,
entry,
it's a wonderful
but it's
subject.
a good skill developing subject.
Exactly. And they,
So,
so they had overlapped it till
yeah.
last year. It
Huh.
was in the academic, it was also in the
Yes.
vocational. So it could be taken as one.
Yeah.
Now it is
Yeah.
only in the vocational,
Vocational.
which
Yeah.
means all children have to take one more from the academic list.
Yeah. Academic list.
So
Sorry, have another question as well. So the practicals that you were talking about and the accommodations that have to be made extra, etc., all those. So my question is, does practicals, whatever you're talking about, limited only to the academic subjects, or they will be
No,
there in the
vocational has more practicals actually. So data entry, what Tarun wrote, practical carried 60% marks and
60%.
theory is only 40% marks. Whereas for other theory subjects, it is 80 and
80-20.
80-20. 20 is for
20 TMA.
TMA and yeah, 80 is theory plus practical included. So there is a calculation that they do.
Yeah.
But vocational subjects, always the practical will have a higher weightage.
okay, understood. Okay,
So what
yeah.
Chitra was saying about the science and Tarun was not really asked to do. Chitra, it's a very common occurrence
Yeah.
because of the sheer numbers.
Yeah.
So
So
for each
I
child to
was
be
like
doing
kind
it,
of, we went in thinking, okay, he doesn't do the practical. He will write the practical and whatever. We went in with very open minds. Like the system is not good. So we
You know,
are
I think what we need to do, frankly, everywhere, every city, and I can speak for Bangalore definitely. I think we have to have parent representations, like I can be part, definitely will be, not can, and speak to the regional directors. What needs
yes,
to
yes,
happen in an NIOS now is a
yeah,
percolation of awareness.
yeah,
In
yeah.
theory, there is a lot of support for special needs learners,
Yes, yeah, but it's not,
but it just does not get
yeah.
translated, and
And
it's a massive
I've
fight.
also heard where actually the study centers take a call. And if the study center is not prepared, it can really go wrong for you.
Study
That is,
centers are becoming a big problem for NIOS
yes,
because it's kind of like a volunteer role for them,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
they're stepping out
yeah.
because it's a lot of work.
And they are insisting that students write only specific subjects and things like that, which is, I don't think that's the right way. That is
See,
also one reason why he wanted to write maths and science.
hmm,
I, like, everywhere I turned around, people were writing only the regular, then there are some subjects which most kids take.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
was like, I
yeah,
couldn't
absolutely.
find
Hmm.
information also because there were not many students writing maths
Because
and
it's an
science.
open university,
Yes,
schools were not part of the game
yes,
when
yes,
it
yes.
started. It
And
was meant to reach remote
yeah,
areas of the country
yeah,
where children do not have access to mainstream schools.
yeah,
So they put in all the subjects, but the children offering for subjects were obviously the
yeah,
kind that you can read and kind of just mug
yeah,
up and write.
yeah,
Maths and
yeah.
science, you can't do that.
You can't do that.
You
So,
need to,
and
you need to
also
be taught
with
and
with
understand.
with children with disability, specifically autism, there's
Mm.
always this thing ki we give them something easier. No,
Yeah,
there
yeah.
is something called as a
Rubbish.
healthy stretch. Why are we just limiting them to lower expectations?
I don't
Can't.
even question that anymore. I
And
just go and
the
fight it out.
child has multiple options to write the exam, and it's not a big deal. So I
I
don't know.
told one of this they had gone with one parent. I was told that he's doing like this and all, and then you think he can study. I said you were just scratching your arm with a lady sitting in front of you. Is that
Yeah.
education? I mean, like rubbish. You lifting your
Yeah.
shirt and scratching your arm.
So,
So I
so
said, don't go
Tarun
by all
did
that.
get up and during the exam, and in
Mm-hmm.
fact, one of the uh, people from like the NIOS people, they came and stood and watched him type. They wanted to make sure that it was him,
Exactly, exactly. So
but
I think
he just aced it.
we
He just
have to
aced
take
it
it
at
to
that
the, of course
point.
he is it, of course, no doubt about that. We have to take it to the
Yeah.
regional directors.
Yeah. So
Like
it,
across the country, small groups of people go with
yeah,
applications, not to apply, but to with the. See, I had a child with a physical, she has cerebral palsy.
yeah,
She was given an exam center
uh,
with all accommodations, everything in place, okay, given her movement, mobility problem, sitting problem. When the day we went for the exam, she was given a room in the third floor, no lift.
oh my God. Yeah.
And
So,
then when we went, we've managed to get the room changed. The room which was given to her had these fixed benches. You know how government schools,
oh, yeah,
she
yeah,
could
yeah.
not enter because she goes sideways.
Oh,
So she fought it out and she said, I will take the teacher's table and chair.
yeah.
Finally, they had to give it to her because we were not allowed to go inside. So
So,
what I mean to say, and then when we took it to the, NIS people, they were like, no, but her accommodation was all there. The studies, the exam center should have done it.
yeah.
So there's a
So
big gap.
there's a big gap. And one thing, especially with the practicals, is I really would like for them to come up with this alternate practical paper model or a project model, because many of them don't have an understanding of dyspraxia and things like that. So
Nobody does.
nobody does. So,
It
but
starts with
that it is
nobody.
actually unsafe
Yeah,
for
yeah.
yeah, our young people. So that is something that NIOS really needs to not give it left, right, and center for anybody who's asking, but definitely if a person needs it, give that option. That's only, yeah. So
See, the project option is there. Uh,
It's there, but it clearly says only for children with intellectual disability.
I know,
That
I
is
know.
what.
So that is where again, I think we
Yeah,
need to do
we need to
root
change.
work.
It's not about intellectual disability.
And
I
let me
don't.
tell you, in senior secondary, a subject like there's a web design or a web development subject. Okay, not
Okay.
bad as a subject, but the material is very redundant. Where we have moved in web design, it's still
Material
on
is redundant for
content
all.
is all subjects.
Don't
Content is
get me
very
started
redundant.
on that.
But
Yeah.
there, what the children do is almost 99% of them do the project.
Ah.
No questions asked.
Yeah. So right now I'm actually looking at senior secondary. So environmental science and geography, I think there are practical. So I'm trying to figure out what practical would they do. So would it be like a project? Or I'm trying to find out, but I'm struggling actually. But anyway, I'll figure that
Which
out.
subject?
Environmental science and geography and
Senior
all.
secondary?
Senior secondary.
Okay, I'll get back to you with some.
I'll perhaps talk to you, Champa. I'm reaching out to multiple people to understand
Yeah.
how the practicals happen because
Actually, it's also very center oriented.
yeah, very center oriented.
NIOS has done that. I mean, because they are not able to manage the bulk. So the center will make a lot of difference. You really have to.
Yeah, that's why I said build the relationship with the study center,
Right.
with the exam center. A lot depends on that. And you're like, I think I always say I can go in as a diplomat.
See, Bangalore
anywhere.
Center, Bangalore has allowed parents of children with disability to actually mention that in the application when they ask for the study and the exam center to be either spastics or Asha Kiran. Because
So
these are the two places that have an understanding of
yeah.
disability.
Yeah, so I in Cochin I was practically new, so I just went with it. But thankfully, the two
You got
places.
it.
So one was a school where they have a special needs. They have their own children writing and all that. The exam center, but the other school. There have been parents who've had bad experiences in the past, but they have advocated, and now these people are much better, and they were really nice actually. Really nice. And for one simple thing, they would talk to Tarun, not to me.
The
It's a very
dignity of
small
it.
thing, but
Oh, it's a
that
big thing.
yeah,
It's big.
it
It's
like it
very
may
big.
look like a small thing, but it's a very
It's very big.
significant thing.
Yes.
If somebody is open to talking to this person, I think Shija has anyone suggested online simulation options instead of hands-on practical? Shija, NIOS has a long way to go.
Even CBSE and all don't have that.
No, nobody has. In India, nobody has. Actually, even a practical alternate paper also, even CBSE doesn't have that.
Does not.
I think it's high time they do all that because.
Oh, while we're on CBSE, this was something I have left long back. I want to go back to it. Has anybody explored the private candidature? Did you?
I wanted to explore that,
Ah,
but then I was not confident, like because
yeah.
for us also it was a new thing, no, Champa, and now I'm more confident. Like, okay, I can actually get in for a more lengthy discussion or a fight or something because I've kind of gone through something. But
Hmm.
private candidature also is something that I think people should explore
Hmm.
because if schools are open, it doesn't reflect on their results, no. So if our children's results don't come in the way of their school results, I don't think
Hmm.
any school has any issue. That is the biggest
No,
problem for
because
most
on
schools.
paper, even CBSE has a lot of accommodations which we can make use of for
Yes.
non-speaking autistic
Yeah,
learners.
yeah. I
But
remember,
they
I think
never get implemented anywhere.
I can see Kavita ma'am here.
Hmm.
Kavita ma'am was one of the people who pushed for
Yes,
initially and
yes,
got the adult prompter thing, but that
correct.
is still not implemented, ma'am, in
No.
most schools.
No, nothing is implemented in
Nothing
school.
is
So that
implemented.
is where the roadblock is. So why not let's look at private
Yeah.
candidature also. Why not? See, yeah, good. This discussion was wonderful.
I
And
hope it was useful for some people at least. And if there are minute things, you can also message me or reach out to me on WhatsApp or something because There are a lot of small things in the actual process of it. And I'm not the expert here because this is just a one experience person. But yes, our experience is a little unique because he's a non-speaker and we
He's an
use,
expert. Just like our children, NIOS is so diverse.
yes.
Each case is.
Thank you, Kavita ma'am. Thank you so
That will
much.
be great, Kavita ma'am.
Yeah.
The fight
So,
goes on.
thank you
But
so
what I
much.
would like to remember for myself from your narrative, Chitra, is again reiterate very strongly that I keep giving. I do not bring in the environment of response expectation. It comes when it comes, and then it
Yeah,
comes beautifully because then the learner has figured out the connection
yeah, yeah, yeah,
between, what is being taught,
yeah.
asked, what are the differences here. So that is something very, very. So I think all beginner mothers, teachers have to really take it
Yeah.
slow. I use the word
Slow
slow
down.
because we are comparing it with the norms with which we have grown up.
Yeah.
So that's not actually slow, it's actually the right pace.
Yes, yes, yes. But we don't do that. No, we are constantly comparing with the other child around.
Hmm.
If you want to compare, also compare with your own child from where he or she was and now where they are. And that is when the beauty unfolds. Like you realize, oh my God,
What all
they've
is
done so much. And that's a different thing. And I just want to say one last thing. I know a lot of people have left, but go for it. Get your children to write an iOS or any board for that fact.
whatever.
Like, it may sound like it's not like pushing children down the academic road or anything like that, but getting that 10th thing, it does create a lot of shift in mindsets because that is how our society is kind
No,
of
it's very
programmed.
true.
So
Absolutely.
it makes a difference, like even for the child and for you as a parent, for everybody to understand, okay, 10th pass, whatever way, we nobody is going to ask what you did or what subjects you did and all. 10th pass has a certain stature to it. Now, not necessarily the child will go for a college or anything, but 10th pass, one simple thing in the passport, you don't need a immigration thing if you're 10th pass.
Yeah.
It's a simple thing, but it's a
It's a
huge
big thing.
thing. Yeah, it's a big thing. So,
And what you said about Tarun wanting to prove, that is such an
yeah,
innately
it is
underlying undercurrent in all of us, not only our children.
yeah, yeah,
I remember Ankush telling me years ago when we came to Bangalore and Spastics, he just said, I want a 10th certificate like my
yeah,
Dada has.
yeah,
What
yeah,
is it? What does it mean? Nothing. So I don't question. I said, we'll try.
yeah,
And because it was spastics, we were able to do it.
yeah,
And because there was a lot of self-advocacy, this same kid told me in 2 years' time, I'm not going to do 12th, Mama.
yeah,
The books are too thick.
yeah. So
Said, okay.
that's fine.
What
It's
I mean to say
fine.
is, you also let your child make these decisions about
Yeah,
themselves. From what I hear about Tarun, there is a very
he made
innate,
the
strong drive.
yeah.
So we have to
He
respect that.
I sometimes get scared of that drive,
Yeah.
Champa, because it puts a lot of load on
Yeah.
our
Comes with,
heads.
yes,
But
yes.
then I tell him that also, like in between when we were struggling, I tell him, see, Amma is trying a lot, but
Yes.
if this doesn't work out, you have to accept it. Like there is only so much I can do. I
Correct.
also have my limitations, but I don't know. He was somehow confident, and anyway,
So
whatever
that's a
happened, happened
very
for the
important factor for all
yeah.
of us, that we have to discern this sense of wanting in our children, whether
Yeah.
it's there or not, to be able to make an objective, conclusion about it. We first have to just provide the environment.
Yeah.
If my child seems to be inclined, then I have at least one path. Okay, let me go forward with it. Like you said, it puts a lot, but
Yeah.
fine, we'll deal with that slowly. But what if I find after, the initial years of giving, I have many children like that who
Yep.
are not inclined.
Yeah, then
It can happen
that's
to
also
anyone.
fine.
Exactly. So that is where we need to have a lot of, other options, other
Yeah,
areas.
yeah.
Ultimately, it's an
But we
enhanced
gave
job.
it a try.
Yes,
We
we gave it a try.
explored. So explore
Absolutely.
and exploration and exposure. These are two things I
That have to
totally
happen.
go. That has to happen because
Yes.
unless we
Yes.
help them explore and we
Yes.
expose them, they also can't take decisions for
Exactly.
themselves
Exactly. How
because
will
they
they
don't
decide?
know.
Exactly. Exactly. So good this was. I was so
Thank you.
terribly sick this last 2 weeks. My asthma has escalated beyond coughing all the time. Just since yesterday, I was a little okay. But I was waiting to hear this. I
Thank you
read
so
Tarun's words
much.
and
Yeah.
not at all. Thank you, in fact. And Bindu, of course, for all her
Yeah, Bindu, thank you.
Thank you.
Bindu has
fantastic
actually
guidance.
been asking me to do this, not NIOS, but otherwise for a long time. But I don't get the time these days. I'm like totally flooded. Like July was bad. I've been running around for a whole month for work and stuff.
So this
But
was well worth the time. Wait, Chitra. Thank you so much.
thank you, Bindu. And
Bindu, what
anybody
happened to the
needs,
AMA
Huh?
with our young people?
yeah,
Yes, that will probably be next month.
Okay.
yeah.
So it's in the pipeline, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So,
So yeah.
Thank you so much, Chitra. It's more than 2 hours. Thanks
yeah,
everyone for
thank you.
staying back, asking questions.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
anytime I like whatever help I can give, I'm always there. I may
Sure.
not be very active in the group and all, but yeah, I'm there.
Definitely. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Chitra.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.